Hello and welcome back to the Kentucky Kernel News Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Lucas, and I'm joined by my co-host, Giana Gallo. Would you like to say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome back.
And so today we are going to be talking to, is he a sports reporter?
Yes, Colton Johnson, our sports reporter and new podcast host.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Excited to see what content he comes out with over the coming months. And we also talked to Ty Osbourne, a voice actor who is also a UK student. So some very interesting interviews today. And then, as always, we're going to finish off with scoops out of the litter. And just a disclaimer, the opinions expressed on this podcast are the speaker's own and do not reflect the opinions held by the Kentucky Kernel. All right, let's go. All right, we welcome on another guest for the podcast today. We're here with Colton. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I'm Colton. I am the host of the sports podcast here at the Kernel, and I'm also a staff writer.
And so, Colton, I have a question for you to start off. So I've been seeing a little bit on Twitter about how Rep Arena kind of has this atmosphere of boosters and old people in it. So what do you think about that whenever you cover the games?
I mean, I'd have to agree. You get in there and you see a place like Cameron Indoor. Now, given Cameron Indoor is a lot smaller venue, It holds like 9,000 people. But you get to a place like Rupp, and if it was like, I don't expect them to do it, but if it was like Cameron Indoor where the student section was a sideline instead of behind the baseline, behind the backboard, I think it would add a different element to it. But, it's just a completely different world here in Kentucky. And I think at some times it can be a bit of a factor.
Yeah, for sure. I just see other colleges, they're doing crazy stuff in the student section, and I just see us with like a cutout of one of our players. I'm like, we're kind of lame.
Yeah.
And
the big flag that they pull up.
Yeah.
When the game's about to start.
Yeah, it should just be different for us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And like the loudest that the stadium has gotten all season was when Big Z came.
Yep.
So it's like I feel like that's fueling the narrative that Kentucky's just about the players going to the NBA. Like, it's just about the players. It's not about the team or getting wins or anything like that. It's just about players doing good.
No, I'd have to agree. I mean, I saw a thing. I wrote a story about it. It was on ESPN, but Kentucky set the record this year for this most All-Stars in the NBA from one school.
Wow.
I mean, it was like 7. It was the typical guys like AD, Julius Randle, all them. But I'd have to really concur with that. I mean, what it's been since 2012, we rode probably the best college basketball player ever in Anthony Davis to a championship. So I think, yes, in the sense of like it's just a program based around returning guys to the NBA. I think that's what guys think about when they come here primarily.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. It's just college basketball is so volatile in the sense that like any program can go out there and win a championship on any given year. It kind of March makes no sense,
Yeah.
Let's talk about Kentucky's past couple games, basketball games. What were your opinions on the Florida game?
Well, I mean, I think when you go out there and there's one guy and one issue that's just killing you and you can't like identify and like neutralize that issue. I mean, Walter Clayton, the dude was just making it rain. I mean, they couldn't find an answer for him, and then especially on that last possession, if you're up 3, and Cole said that Cal said he was trying to make them take a 2, and yet we look and Reed is like in help defense in the paint on Walter Clayton Jr., and then when Walter Clayton pumps, and then Reed goes flying by. I mean, the second that it left his hand, you could see like, it's going in. Like that's, and then overtime has not been their friend this season at all. I mean, we saw it against A&M. We saw it against Florida. I think both these past games, while they're both losses, I think they have pretty different implications, I'd have to say.
Mm-hmm. What about the Tennessee game?
Well, I mean, I think it's different when you go into a game and you're, the team that you're playing is probably a little higher than you are. But I got on Twitter, right after that game, and you hate to see the excuses, but I saw nothing but excuses from Kentucky fans. It was like, refs. But I think at the end of the day, Kentucky fans just kind of need to realize that Tennessee's a better team than Kentucky is right now. They're more experienced. I mean, Ziegler, Connect, Adu, Vescovy. They got a starting 5 of guys that have been playing 4 years of college basketball.
I don't watch college basketball, and I recognized all of those names.
Yeah, they've
like
been there
I literally
forever.
only watch March Madness,
Oh.
basically. And like I was like, oh, like I know Vescovy, I know
Yeah.
Ziegler. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
what are all these guys doing here? What is it? Connect or Connect? Is he the new one?
Yeah, he's
new?
he's a transfer. He played JUCO, and then I think he was at North Dakota State. I might be wrong, but some random obscure school,
Yeah.
and then he comes in and he is torched. I mean, I think I think held him to his season low. I think 16 is the lowest amount of points he has scored this season.
Yeah.
So it's just the other guy. I mean, Josiah and Jordan James. He's also been playing for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
He had 26. Ziegler had 26. Like Tennessee is a much more well-rounded basketball team than Kentucky is right now, and for them to like come into Rupp, put up 103 points, especially, I mean, it's all about adaptability too. I think Kentucky, where they struggle is if they come in and they can't put up 90 points, if they can't put up 100 points, they're probably going to lose. I mean, defense is not their strong point. It's been the issue all year.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee, on the other hand, where defense has been something that they're pretty good at. It's them and Mississippi State are the best in the SEC at defense. Yeah, they can come in, and when they know that Kentucky is a team, especially in home at Rupp, they're going to put up points. Tennessee comes up and puts more points up. It's just I'm not going to say no adaptability with this Kentucky team, but I mean there's a lot more difficult teams coming in this schedule.
Yeah.
Like they still have to play Alabama. They still have to play Auburn, like these high-level basketball teams in this conference. So it's not going to get any easier from here, is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, it feels like this team is running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They got a good one coming up. I mean, if they can't pull it off against Vanderbilt, it's kind of emergency button time, like
Mhm.
panic button to the max, I'd have to say.
Mm-hmm.
What are you predicting for the Vanderbilt? And I mean, I know Gonzaga, they play Saturday. What are you predicting with those two games? What do you want from the Wildcats? What do you feel like is necessary for them to pull a win?
I mean, just going with what works for them more so. I mean, I think at this point, especially, I mean, we're in February. We're a month away from when they need to perform. You know, you can't have a game that you drop. Like, it's not like you have the next week to go. Like, that's what with losses like Florida and Tennessee, you have the ability to look at what went wrong and go back and fix that. It's not going to happen in a month. You don't have that opportunity. And then with Vanderbilt, I mean, anything short of just a convincing all-out, like, because Vanderbilt's like far and away, they haven't won a conference game. Their most convincing win is San Francisco. San Francisco basketball, mighty powerhouse. So for them to go in, and I'm not going to say like, they have to beat them by 40, but I mean, just a convincing win, especially with Vanderbilt. And then Gonzaga, it's like they're nowhere near the program that we thought that we're used to. It's not the Gonzaga of old. So especially at home, if it's not 2 wins for the Wildcats, I think it's going to be tough times in Lexington.
I just recently, this has kind of changed the topic, but I'm very interested. This is a weird question. Some people say Gonzaga and Gonzaga.
Oh, my God.
What is it?
I say Gonzaga.
I feel like I've said it both ways.
Because I just heard a person say Gonzaga, and I almost barfed. I was like, what school did you just say?
I feel like it's very Michigan. You have to have a Michigan accent
yeah.
to say Gonzaga.
Is Gonzaga north? Is it in New England? Where is it?
Dude, I am drawing a blank right now.
I
think
don't know either.
I think it might be out west.
I thought it was in Illinois for a second.
No. Absolutely
I
not.
thought it was in like. Oh my God!
It's gonna be like Massachusetts.
Look at me, sports podcast,
Place
and
the bets.
it's in Washington.
Washington.
Oh,
Spokane.
oh, like what? Like Washington on the West Coast?
Yeah, that's
what.
Yeah,
You're completely off.
I had no idea.
No,
That's super weird.
Yeah, but I mean, if they, one, it's Gonzaga. I mean,
Yes.
and if,
Okay.
if you say Gonzaga, objectively wrong. Like that's just I'd have to say.
So I guess now segueing, right, if your predictions are correct, they win these 2 games, make it a reasonable win with, it's a good game. What do you think March looks like for the Wildcats?
We had I had this conversation with Cole and Ali. It was just kind of what have these past couple games in terms of like, is this the same team that we thought it was back when they beat North Carolina? Like everyone was like, well, we're winning the championship. They might as well just give us the trophy now, That was the implication from Kentucky fans. I mean, but especially with the Florida loss, after that, I think there were so many like gashes and wounds that were exposed for Kentucky. That in March,
doesn't defense get harder in March too?
Yeah, it's because you're playing teams out of conference that you don't know who you're gonna play.
Yeah,
and it's harder. I'm not gonna crap on Coach Calipari, but I think he's kind of one of the issues when it comes to the adaptability of it all. But in terms of March, I don't know. If I had to give you a round that I think that they could get to the Elite Eight, I'd be impressed if they did, just because they're so young. But Kentucky's thrived, the freshmen in the past, and it's always March. You never know what can happen in March.
Very true. Very true. Do you have any more questions, Nate?
No, I don't have any more questions.
Well, make sure you tune in to the Sports Podcast with Colton, our new host, that you can find on Spotify or at YouTube at KY Kernel. Thanks so much for joining us, Colton.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, we welcome on another guest. Would you like to introduce yourself really quick?
Hello, my name is Ty Osbourne.
And what do you do?
I'm a full-time voice actor for like 3 years now.
Okay, and you're also a UK student?
I am a UK student.
Yeah, what's your major?
MAS, so Media Arts and Studies.
Okay.
Very broad.
Yeah, very, very cool though. So, are you going to go into voice acting after you've graduated?
Yeah, so I think that's like my main plan is try and do something with that. If I can't, then I've got the degree as a fallback plan just until I can't make it. It's pretty cutthroat, so it's a lot of on-location stuff, so I have to move, which is, hit or miss, bittersweet. But I'm excited. So, yeah, if I can, try and be, on talent. Then
Yeah, and
sure.
What's, the mecca of voice acting? Like, you have Hollywood. What's that place for voice acting?
It's kind of like a mixture of the two because you're seeing more Hollywood actors blend into voiceover and stuff, like Chris Pratt playing Mario or, Charlie Day playing Luigi, stuff like that, to where celebrity voice actors and then actual voice actors are overlapping, so you'll see a lot of that. So I don't know if you guys have ever watched Arcane. That's sort of the culmination of mixture between people that have done voices for the games and celebrities. So they're kind of one and the same, but they're also totally different. So a lot of the stuff is moving to Dallas because real estate's cheaper and no state tax. So they're moving from LA to Dallas. So it's either Dallas or LA for those. And then if you want to be big in commercial, then New York is the spot. So they're kind of spread out.
Okay.
So
what exactly does a voice actor do?
So pretty much what I'm doing now, I talk in a microphone all day, but it's just people tell me what to say and they tell me how to say it. And that's kind of the way that I describe it the best that I can. It's a very straightforward job on paper, but whenever you get to the nitty-gritty details of it, it gets super complex for no reason. So sometimes you'll have people that are very specific about pauses, like ellipses are 3 seconds. If it's not 3 seconds, scrap it, redo it all over again. Some people are really good about direction, telling you what emotion to do. Other people just say, leave it up to interpretation. So it's simple on paper, but it depends client to client as to what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and job changes every single time.
Mm-hmm. Give us a list real quick of some projects that you would do, genre, I guess.
Okay, genre. So I do a lot of indie animation and college student thesis films right now, just building up a resume. It's really appealing to talent agents and stuff like that. Working in actual animation and video games. So I have a few video games that I'm a part of that are part of the Steam Summer Sale and all that. A lot of them are more visual novel stuff, and then a couple hack and slash stuff like that. And then I've done commercials that are just kind of for whoever needs a commercial, and they pay the best. And then audiobooks that I have a full-time job out of. So work, I don't know, probably 15 hours a week just doing that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's dip my toes in a little bit of everything. So
yeah,
it's nice and fun.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into voice acting? What did that process look like? How did you discover it?
So I would say it was kind of complicated, but not at all. So it wasn't my idea at all. I talked about this in the Kentucky Kernel article that we recorded yesterday.
Yeah.
My parents, or my mom specifically, and my sister actually like kind of forced me into it. So I used to do voices as a kid all the time, as I'm sure like everybody did, like mimicking cartoon voices that you hear on TV. And my parents like got really annoyed by it to the point to where like sometimes they think I was talking to somebody completely else in my room, and they would hear two voices and they get freaked out. So my mom like finally started talking to me about that whenever it was like COVID and I was stuck at home all the time, couldn't really do anything. And then she surprised me the next day after we had that conversation and bought me a microphone. She was like, I don't care how you do it, figure it out, and then make it work, see if you like it. So I was like, okay. So I decided to just pretty much text or like email like a bunch of professional voice actors that I had listened to or like heard of at the time. And they ended up reaching back out. So takes one to know once. Just you got to reach out and talk to as many people as you can, and they'll get back to you. So they kind of got me on that right path until I could build up my resume enough to get paid work, and then that paid work turned into where I am now, to where it's just kind of like on the cusp of professional, like full time. So
That's really cool.
yeah, it's luck and skill and hard work based. It's really luck. So, but it's fun. I enjoy it a lot.
And how do you balance that work with your schoolwork right now?
Oh, it's so stressful.
Yeah.
It is so stressful. So I can't record. I typically don't record anything at school because my sound setup, like I have like a $1,500 studio that I built with my uncle in my basement at home. So I live like an hour north, so I drive an hour home every single weekend, and I work the entire time I'm there, and then I drive back and I'm school. So I have my week kind of like split in half, to where I'm constantly working on school, I'm working on my like job, or I'm working on voiceover stuff. So it's a very hectic schedule. I have like a maximum of maybe 3 hours of downtime before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's totally draining.
Are you putting yourself through school with your voice acting?
I mean, no, not alone, because I was lucky enough to like take a lot of college credits in high school. My high school did not like the fact that we were in high school, so they sent us to like dual credit classes a lot. So I came in with a full semester done already, and my grades were good enough to where I got a good scholarship. But my parents also like want to pay for stuff. But if I wanted to go solely on that money, I totally could. So,
Okay,
but they're
very
just kind of, my parents are letting me pocket it, so
Yeah,
makes life after college a little bit easier.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can make that move to Dallas really
Oh yeah, that's I've already got my apartment complex picked out. It's just a
Oh,
matter
okay.
of when.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
that's awesome.
$1,200 a month, like 5-minute walk from where I want to work. So
That's a perfect
Yeah.
location.
yeah, I was very, very fortunate to have like friends in Dallas that like were just like, hey, look here. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that's sweet. So how did you meet these friends? You were telling me about anime conventions?
Yeah. So I've been going to like Anime NYC in New York constantly for like the past 4 years. This is going to be the 5th year going. But this time I'm going as a guest instead of like just actually going to just enjoy it. So my first year I kind of went, and like the people that I was talking about earlier that I had messaged, I met them in person, and then they kind of branched out and allowed me to meet some other people. I was really fortunate with that. And then my name started getting a little bit bigger, like on internet spaces and stuff like that. So then more people started reaching out to me, and then we were just talking back and forth. And you know, it's like a giant tree of connections. So I mean, you just shake hands and meet a lot of people, and it kind of gets you to where you are. So yeah, I was just really lucky to kind of not be scared to reach out. Is kind of what I can say. It kind of fits for every career, but you can't be scared to talk to somebody. So yeah, just pretty much trying to talk to them like a normal human being instead of like a fan, and they really enjoyed it, and it allowed me to make a lot of friends. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, it was super nice. Super nice.
Where are you currently working?
So I currently work at a radio station, I guess if you want to call that, is like internship, LM Communications. I'm on 96.9 and 106.3, so that's the hit station and like the like rock station. And then a lot of my clients are remote right now, so I work from home. Everything's super nice. I'm kind of my own boss. It doesn't help when tax season comes around, but it sure does help like get me through school and stuff like that, to where if they're like, hey, I need this by then, I can kind of tell them like it's not going to happen. I can get it to you as fast as I can on Friday. But I work for a big company out of India called Pocket FM. There's another one called Star Reading that's out of China, that are like the two big audiobook companies, and the rest are independent, like smaller indie developers, and then big sort of I guess, guy that I work for is on YouTube. His name's Alex Kister. He made like the Mandela catalog, and I was kind of thrown as the face of that franchise for a hot minute. So I'm finally on my first break for like 2 years. So
Okay,
it's nice.
good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So
Yeah.
how do you keep your voice healthy too? If this is your first break in 2 years.
So it's kind of complicated. There's a lot of stuff that you're like not meant to do, eat or drink. So like some people say it's like a day. I'm not a strict follower of these rules, and I probably should be. So no dairy, the day before recording, because it makes like saliva and mouth clicks and stuff like that much more prevalent. Same thing with peanut butter. You're not supposed to have that, but we already know that like that's literally what I ate on my way here.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
I wasn't gonna snitch on you.
Oh, don't worry. I'll snitch on myself. So stuff like that. There's like tricks and stuff of like stuff you can drink, eat that will change like your voice kind of. So sour stuff makes your throat a lot like tighter, I think.
Okay.
So it makes like rasp come out a lot easier and stuff like that. And then hot tea with honey is the cure-all for any sort of like voice illness related things. You sound congested, then boom, that fixes that. So if your voice is hoarse, boom, fixes that.
Yeah, it sounds like your diet's gonna have to be like as strict as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Once you get into
Yeah.
like actually
Yeah.
doing this voice acting.
Yeah. So once it's a full-time like 5-day week endeavor, it's going to be constantly watching what I eat, making sure I book this at the right time, and like this is like it's kind of like telling on myself. The one thing that I do is like on that hour drive home, you'll hear a lot of people do vocal warm-ups, and I don't do that at all. I literally just sing my heart out in the car on the drive home, and it just warms me up enough to where I can just kind of step in the booth and go. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so singing, if anybody wants to do voice acting, singing is the good way to stretch those vocal cords.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that a couple times on my way to do like a stand-up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It works
makes sense.
so well. It works so well. And then like I'll go through every genre just to make sure I hit every single profile. So like you have like the super low country singers, then you have like the super high pop singers. So yeah, it's super fun. Just kind of seeing how everybody does things differently, comparing them to kind of like how I do things. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
What's your dream job, or what company do you aspire to work on? What is like perfect life, perfect scenario?
Okay, that's a really good question. So perfect scenario, like you don't get paid a lot, but just for the fact of like it's so fun working for Crunchyroll and anything. They like Crunchyroll or Bang Zoom. They book so much stuff, just that's foreign animation, video games. It's such a wide variety of things to where you get to work with that. And then a lot of people are obviously fans of the product before it even gets animated. So kind of getting adopted by a community, and then they kind of share your passion for this character, this, that, or the other is really, really cool. You don't make good money doing it.
Yeah.
But that's like, I would say like the dream job, but perfect scenario, you'll be doing that and commercials on the side, because commercials make ridiculous money for some reason.
Yeah.
So then I could kind of balance both of those out and make it full time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You don't want to be famous and not rich.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the worst thing in the world. From the people that I've talked to, you make so much of your money by convention appearances and selling prints. So they'll sell like a print of a character for $60, sign it, you're done. Pictures an extra 20. So they're making $80 per person in that line pretty much.
Wow.
So yeah, and they're there for 3 days, like for maybe 10 hours just standing there signing stuff. So it takes some resilience to say the least, but they make a lot of money doing it. So it's a fun job and career choice, I would say.
For sure.
Do you want to do your voices for us?
Did you see that look that me and Nate just had? Like,
Yeah.
because we were both waiting.
I mean,
that's
what this is all.
Oh
is
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, what do you guys want to hear? Like,
I guess just the range.
The
Because,
range?
like your low voice to like, I don't know. I just want to see like a very big difference of like what you can do.
Yeah. So a lot of people will like hire just based on your natural tone. So I have a thing called a demo reel that like shows my range. So it goes like up and down, and a lot of times you'll change your inflection, not actually the sound of your voice. So like sometimes I'm just talking normally, and then it goes to the back of my throat, and then it gets a little bit deeper, a little bit more raspy. It's for those edgy characters. And then sometimes it goes up towards my nose, and it gets really high. It's not the highest I can go, but it gets pretty high. And then sometimes you'll have those guys that are like super down and gravelly, down like this, and they really, really talk. And sometimes you'll have those old people that just like to talk like this, and you get a bunch of different accents and stuff like that that add to it. So you got like British Cockney. It makes things nice and fun. Changes the reads every single time you do it. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that
was
sounded
so
really good in these
good.
microphones.
Yeah,
Much
thank
better
you.
than yesterday.
Thank you.
That was so good.
With my crappy lav mics and whatever.
Hey, you know what? It got the job done. I still can't believe that I almost forgot to give that back to you. You're like, give me a microphone. I started pushing this one like towards you.
Yeah. I mean, I almost walked out of like a hotel where I gave this guy a microphone, and he's from Peru.
Oh.
So that would have been pretty.
You wouldn't have been able
up.
to get that back.
Yeah.
You would not have been able to get that back.
Yeah, but do you have any other questions for him?
No, I mean, I'm glad we ended on that because I feel like that really shows your amazing talent.
Well,
so
thank you.
That's really impressive.
3 years of work right there. So
Yeah, and best wishes to you on your future endeavors.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so
Everything.
much for having me on. It was an absolute blast. I loved it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on as well.
Oh,
Thank
not
you.
a problem. Not a problem.
All right, welcome back to Scoops Out of the Litter, where we tell you what you need to know in the local, state, and national level news as a college student. So let's get to the catch-up. The local news, Lexington hosted an international foosball tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
I do. Nate covered this story, so tell me the rundown on this event. Who hosted it? Where was it? What did it look like? All of this stuff.
Yeah, so this was at the Clarion Hotel. It's about 6 or so miles away from UK's campus, I'd say. And I heard about this because there was actually a fire there on Friday, last Friday, and it was in the news because it's a fire at a hotel. And the kind of at the bottom of the article, it says the International Foosball Promotions was holding a tournament there. And I'm like, are you serious? Like an international foosball tournament? Like, first I'm like, foosball tournament, okay? And then I see international, and I'm like, holy crud! Like, this is serious.
This is
and then
serious
I
business.
gave the contact a call. I looked him up. I gave the contact a call, and she's like super down to get me there and everything. And I just walked in. I asked for the people's names that I got from her, and I got to talk to the tournament director, and I also got to talk to a Peruvian man who is a professional foosball player who moved from Peru to pursue a professional foosball career.
Wow, I did not
Mhm.
know it was a legit thing. Where that's
Yeah.
really insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So that was kind of a lie that he moved to the United States just for foosball. He was studying here at first. He has a degree
Gotcha.
in computer science, but he's so good at foosball that now he's doing that before he starts his degree in computer science, which those degrees right now are, I don't want to say they're not very good. That's obviously a great degree to have, but I know the tech industry isn't doing great right now. So I'm sure that contributes to why he's not joined the field yet.
Yeah.
He's probably waiting for it to calm down. But yeah, he's a professional foosball player, and so he just kind of couch surfs until he can get on his. Well, I think he's just gonna couch surf forever in his foosball career, unless he wins like the Worlds, because they have world tournaments for this as well.
Really?
Yeah, and he's been winning quite a bit. He said he's gotten second a couple times, but he's got to really capture one soon. But he really good stuff. Yeah,
What
it's
was
pretty
it
crazy.
like watching an international tournament, like for real professional tournament of foosball?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm like kind of into subcultures like this.
Mhm.
Like I played Magic the Gathering at one point, and that is kind of like Pokemon.
Okay.
So I would go to those types of tournaments, and I would watch YouTube videos where they would be playing, and it kind of reminded me of that, because you're watching two dudes go at it at like a hobby, but it's also very, very serious. And so that was the vibe when they were playing the open singles finals, and so it was this younger guy kind of trying to make a name for himself versus this older guy who was the 2022 world champion. And he was very
wow.
serious. He had his whole family there, and everything. So, yeah, and he's very, very good.
That's
and
so insane to
yeah,
me.
it was pretty back and forth. He ended up winning, though. He had this crazy shot where he would go from the second to last foosball guy, so like the defender. If you imagine like in soccer, and he would have the defender kick it all the way into the goal. He would just kind of snipe it. You know, he would have this defender on the left because there's two guys. He'd have the guy on the left pass the ball to the guy on the right, and just it's in the package if you watch it. It's like the very first thing. It's within the first 5 seconds probably, and it makes this huge like noise. It's super satisfying.
Wow.
It hits the back of the goal. It's like metal. It rings. Super cool. And so when that happens, everybody goes crazy and stuff.
Yeah,
and clapping. And they had like bleachers right up there, and the bleachers were packed. It's like 4 rows, and then you got people on the floor watching it too, because they're projecting it on a screen in this conference room as well. So it was just really cool stuff. It's just an environment that you never see.
Yeah, that sounds really, really fun to watch, honestly, because I know, like, I grew up sometimes seeing foosball tables, and I'd play around as a kid, but I would never think that, like, some people do this, like, are really, really good at this and, you know, compete against world champions. So that's really neat that you covered this story. Does it inspire you to become a
foosballer? No. I think it would be too frustrating for me. They were able to like pass it to themselves, like off the walls, and to their other like plastic guys. And I think that I would just get too frustrated for that type of thing. Also, you can't spin in professional foosball. You can't spin the player. Yeah. So I feel like that's something that casuals like us do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
You do?
I definitely do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Exactly.
I would just keep yeah, and you're not allowed to do that. So I probably wouldn't be able to play.
Well, thank you so much for covering that story. Where can we find it?
It's on kykernel.com, and my package is on YouTube under Kentucky Kernel, and it's also on our Instagram, also under Kentucky Kernel. So go check that out if you want a little more context for the story. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the state level, I guess. So at Brookside Elementary School, I believe it was.
Yes.
The Nicholasville police responded to this. About 8 to 10 elementary schoolers, I think it was, ate CBD-infused gummies. So was that the best or worst day you think of at elementary school?
Well, I think for the parents, it might be the worst day.
Yeah.
For the kids, I think they just thought it was someone's birthday and brought in some really nice treats.
Yeah.
But I'm just interested, like, what kid brought this in?
Yeah. Is it like a bad little kid?
Right.
Like, did they actually think that it was gummies, or is it like they knew that it was CBD?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that I feel like is the number one question that when I'm hoping more comes out on this story, because I am interested. Like, does this kid know it's CBD, or did they think it was just, you know, Welch's fruit snacks or whatever it is? It's very interesting to me, and I'm curious how the school will handle it, how the parents will, because if I was a parent to a child that just had CBD, just took CBD, I would definitely not be the happiest right now.
Yeah. I don't think I would be it was first grade, by the way.
And
it's not a fifth grader. Yeah, they definitely thought it was gummies.
Yeah.
For sure. They said they shared it with around 8 to 10 other kids, like I said. So there wasn't even like a whole number that they knew how many kids it got shared with.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they
That's
said that they
insane.
checked with poison control to see how it would do. But yeah, all the kids are good.
That's good.
So
at
it's no
least.
big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I would be mad for a little bit if I was a parent, but it's not. I don't
As
think
long
it's
as my
huge
kid's
deal.
okay, I would
Yeah.
I would be fine.
Mhm.
But I think the initial call I would have gotten, I don't think I would have been the happiest. So.
Yeah, I mean CBD is about to be used for like medical stuff, so
Right.
I'm sure. You think that a 6-year-old would be taking it like normally?
I have no idea.
Like if they have medical issues? I think so.
I mean, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious what container this was brought in. Like, do you think it was like
It said it was brightly colored.
right? Like maybe it was for the kid.
Let's see.
Maybe it had like little star designs or a fun little sandwich container. You know, like what if it was a fun little container?
Yeah, we have kids that are taking Adderall to deal with ADHD. I think that they would take CBD to deal with stuff.
That's so crazy.
And it said
though.
ages 2 to 17. So we got 3-year-olds out here on Adderall. Like obviously they're prescribed.
But is
They're
that
prescribed
really the
like it's
safest for
like
kids?
the amount that is healthy for them. But yeah, I don't think that's that big of a deal. If they take CBD.
True, I agree. If kids are
Yeah.
taking Adderall, we can't really be too concerned that, you know,
For medical reasons.
Right, of
Obviously
course, of
they're
course,
not doing this
not-
recreationally.
right.
But yeah, I don't think that big of a deal.
Yeah. And again, as long as all the kids are okay, that's what matters, and
Mhm.
that's just insane.
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
I mean,
pretty
I
crazy.
feel like that kid's got like the coolest award. Like everyone loves this kid. Bring
Yeah.
in, you know,
that was
awesome. That was awesome. Do that again. Bradley, please bring in those fruit snacks. They were amazing.
That would be hilarious if they really like him. Okay, so let's talk about our national level news. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about the Michigan mom who was
Yeah.
charged in the school shooting. So Jennifer Crumbly was charged with involuntary manslaughter 4 counts after her son Ethan Crumbly shot up a Michigan high school in 2021 and killed 4 people and injured, I believe it's 12.
Mhm.
And so she's been charged with involuntary manslaughter because she didn't take the necessary steps to prevent her child from doing this school shooting. So that involves not locking up the guns in their house. That involves negligence, just child negligence. And even the day of the shooting, a drawing was confiscated from her son, Ethan, that depicted what he was about to do. Like literally had him shooting people on it. He's brought to the front office, and his parents don't do anything about it. And so that's what kind of led to this charge. And I think that it's probably necessary, and it's going to be a new thing when we're dealing with school shootings like this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know that it's a more recent trend that students at the school cause a school shooting. And I think it's, my opinion, I think it's very necessary that parents get held accountable since
Mhm.
they're the ones that do own the guns. So it'll be very interesting moving forward how this gets handled with
Mm-hmm.
with their case and possible future cases.
Yeah, I think you're totally responsible in this case where the child doesn't go after you, because usually you'll have cases where like they hold some sort of resentment towards their parents and they might kill them before they go do the shooting and whatever. But you know, if they keep them alive and they don't target them, then there probably was steps that were able to be taken.
Yeah.
Because they look up to them. You
Yep.
know, they didn't want to. They didn't harbor bad feelings towards them, and that seemed to be the case here. And the parents just really did not care, and would rather do other things.
Yeah. And I think that's very telling, especially with the image drawn. That the parents didn't see any worry. And I know you were telling me a lot about this case, and you know it was that following day that the school shooting occurred after he drew this image.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was the same day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Which I feel like tells a lot about their parenting technique and style. And you know the charges, I think rightfully so.
Yeah.
You know the parents were let aware of their child's behavior and you know the possible concern, and they just blinked their eyes and shrugged their shoulders.
Yeah, and the day before the shooting, I believe, he was found in class looking up ammunition on his phone by a teacher, and he got reported for that too. And his mom just said, "You gotta hide that. Like it's not a big deal."
Wow.
So, and there's a bunch of other stuff, but I'll save it. You can go read the story if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was extremely gross negligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she deserves to be in prison, as well as her husband.
Yep.
her husband seems like an idiot. That's why we haven't heard as much about him. So that's why he hasn't been in the headlines. But he's stupid too. He should have stopped it.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope that becomes a trend for these shootings, and hopefully they get stopped a little earlier, because that's what we need. We need barriers in place.
Yep.
For all this stuff if we want to keep our guns.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it for the Kentucky Kernel News Podcast, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And outro song.